Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Let's Play series of Factorio with yours truly. My name is Xeno, and I hope you have your snacks, your drinks, and are ready to just relax and enjoy the series. What's going to happen is the following. First of all, this is Factorio. I'm just jumping straight into the game because nobody want to wait for like half an hour of boring explanation and then see if it might be interesting or not. Oh, and I'm already on fire. Great. That's one of the few things that can rarely happen in this game because of the fact that it's a starter thing, and as far as I know, yeah, it is possible to happen again late in the game, but that's a different story. So, as we progress with the game with this little marathon, we are going to play the base game. I'm going to explain the basic rules. This is very unfortunate. And if you guys and girls like it, then I can always add some extra challenges in new play runs. So, Factorio is a game where you get crash landed on an alien planet and you have to escape by building a rocket with a satellite that can send out a distress signal in the hopes that the distract signal will be caught so you can escape this planet. In addition to the chaos of raw material, as there will be no cutting or editing, I'm also pretty new to all of this and the idea of trying to be a YouTuber, trying to be internet famous, is the fact that there are going to be a few rules, such as if I die, it's game over. In this game, you're going to get normally respawned, but that might be a little bit boring and too simple. Despite that, this is a new game. One of the few settings you can add or change are the kind of resources you're going to have, the amount, and the amount of enemies. The enemies are in the form of biters, which are insects native to the planet, which get pretty much agitated, as you can see over there, on the north side, which is awfully close to my starting position, which is very unfortunate. And they will try to destroy your base and try to kill you as to keep their own planet clean. So, as you can see, I start with a few basic things, and I can use research packs like these to upgrade and unlock new technologies with the end goal to, where is it? Here. Build a rocket silo, launch a satellite, and send out a distress signal. You can continue playing after that, but this is generally the main goal of the base game. There are also mods that allows you to go into space, more difficult recipes, new technologies and whatnot. But it's always useful for new people to see what the game itself is all about before you go into modifications and extra challenges. For example, with Pokemon you have the Nuzlocke challenge, with Yu-Gi-Oh you might have guard deck restrictions, and with fighting games maybe, for example, certain characters are banned or a different type of setup who fights against who. And I started out with some basic resources to try to gather, which is iron and copper. It's going to be used a lot, and I forgot to collect stone, which I also need. There's also coal over here, and there's also oil that can be mined, refined. A little bit of an unwritten rule here over this ship. I'll explain it in a second. But my starting goal is to get some resources together so I can automate the basic necessities I need to build a base. And in the beginning it's very difficult to get things started because you get um, non-automatic non-automatic components. So I have to hand feed anything by... Well, I just have to hand feed everything. And it's a little bit difficult to talk and play at the same time, but that's fine. That's part of the challenge too. So I have automated the stone partly, automated, and I'm gonna check up how it goes with my iron. And that's already out of fuel. So as you can see, this random generated plant has water and land with a little bit of grassland and wasteland. Well, not exactly wasteland. I think this is savanna classified, or close to savanna. And because the enemy is this close, we're gonna go for early military technology in order to defend myself, because on the left bottom I do have a hand pistol with only 2 magazines. Wow. Maybe I can kill off a single insect here, but if even a quarter of that base is gonna attack me, I'm just a goner, which means I have to start all over again. Let's see if I can speed up this somehow, because it's not really that interesting to watch a player going back and forth. As for the ship, there's this rule. This is the supposed to be a spaceship that you crash landed on this planet, and it's salvageable, which it gives you 8 ammunitions round. But some people consider this a shrine or a relic of worshipping object. So for the people who are more experienced with the game, don't worry. Normally I would just instantly scrap it for the extra resources, but this time I'll just save it as a monument of ruin, because there are several jokes and memes about this game and the community, which is very friendly, a very friendly community, with 2 basic rules to always follow when you are in a community like this. Is first of all, try for yourself, because one of the beautiful experience you can have is the experience of trying out. Because if somebody just hands feeds you all the answers, then it's not fun anymore to see what you could have made out of it. And secondly, you're always free to ask, so if you ever get stuck with anything, don't worry about it. We've all been there. Everybody have been a so-called noob. It's fine. Don't worry, just enjoy. And that's pretty nice of this community too. But I'm playing without the community, so that means that if I don't hurry up, then I'm gonna get killed by the insects. Which is pretty close to the old movie Starship Troopers, if that's something that says something to anybody. And the reason why I'm actually worried about these bugs attacking me is because, as you can see, this red area, that's the area where I'm creating smog. As you can see, you can toggle it off and on to see how much your reach is. And the more I create my base, the more smog I'm creating, and at some point it's gonna reach the northern base of the enemy. Well, actually, just natives. They are not even enemies, they are natives. And if they get agitated, they will attack, regardless of me attacking them or not. So I need to set up some base defense, which I have basically barely anything of. I can make some basic armor. You know what? It never hurts to be safe. I do have a radar, but that's only for scanning. And I need way more miners to get the resources I need, because this is going to take just way too long as is. So yeah, I am basically having a race against the clock. I think more experienced players would have been starting their first technology right now. So I'm sorry for taking my sweet time. But this is also pretty useful for new players, as this is just a basic run. Nothing has been changed from the core game. No modifications have been made for more resources or less resources. So this is a really good segment way to just jump into, try to relax a little bit after a long day of going to school or going to work. If you have a stressful day, just sit down, make sure you have your snacks with you, and trying to enjoy this little journey with me. As we're gonna see, if we well, I can escape this planet, or if I'm going to into the destruction route and just wipe out all the bugs from this world. I mean, from the human perspective, I'm the good guy because I'm a human. I'm just trying to escape. But to, to be fair, from the lore perspective, I'm probably the greatest monster ever seen in whole history. Because I'm a single person who will wipe out the natives of an entire planet because they are non-humanoid, just so I can escape. Even though I don't need food in this game, I have breathable air, and as long as I don't agitate the natives, I'm not in any danger. So yeah, it's all about perspective. I think this should be enough to start things out. So I'm gonna build some basic components that I can use to start my technologies, automate the base a little bit, and start to fight back, or at least defend myself for the time being. Okay, that has enough resources. And also explore the planet to see where I can find the other resources I need in order to make the rocket ship and escape the planet. So as you can see, this is all pretty basic stuff. I've been hand feeding everything, which is really time consuming. But I also have made some engines, some steam engines. I'm gonna add a boiler, and I need some copper for that. I think one more. There we go. And yeah, offshore pump. So I need a water resource, which both are pretty far away. This one I think is the closest. And that's my ship, okay. What I can do with these three components is that I can burn coal, wood, or any other resources, heat up water, and create electricity, which allows me to create an electricity network which I can use to power up most of the machinery. There are some machinery and components that still need to be hand fed with basic burnable materials, but electricity allows me to create a whole set of the factory, the machines, etc., in order to automate most of these processes. I think this should be the last round before I can start with the first automation, and yeah, there we go. Starting researchers. Or maybe not, it's only two. I need more copper. Okay, I got iron, so I can build more of these. I'm gonna skip that for a second. I just cancelled some of my handcraft orders here to make sure that I start with what I really need. There we go. I hope. Still gonna take some time. And what I did here is just put the machines into each other, because if you let's say you have a single drill into this direction, or any direction, doesn't really matter, it can go any fourth of the way, and you put a box in front of it. Let's see, an iron box. There we go. The thing is, it goes out from one point and collects into another point, but this one is not getting fed, and then this can run out of resources, so you have to hand feed it yourself, which is really time consuming. But by placing them into each other, they're going to feed each other, and because they gather more than that they use, it means that eventually this box will fill up. So their internal container is going to get filled up, and then I can just collect them. So it's empty right now, but it's going to get fed by the previous one. And you can basically weave them into each other by doing so, which is a semi-solution for optimization. There we go. This should be enough for for 5 pieces. I need wood. For now. There's not really much of excitement in the first few minutes. But we are moving forward into more, well, dangerous stuff. Both from the outside world, but also from the inside world, because there are some technologies, tools, and components that are not only dangerous for the natives, but also dangerous for you as the player. Just gonna place this here and hand feed. I don't have any more. The lab and research packs. As you can see, there's also a warning sign here with electricity. It's because that this is not fed any burnable resources. Oh, I can add the wood here. Combined with the water, it's going to create steam. The steam is going to be fed into the engines, and the engine is going to generate electricity. And now this science lab is powered up, as long as there's some burnable material to turn into steam. And I'm going to start with trying to research the assembly machine. Just going to keep building more. One unwritten rule of this game is just keep building more. You can never ever have enough of any resource. If you think you have enough, you're wrong. You need more. And there are two ways to look at this game, at this whole scenario. Is that it's either a management game, trying to balance as much of the resources as you can, or it's just a rampage game where you try to destroy everything you can. So, yeah. And on the right up, you can see my technology progressing pretty well. I just used up all of the resources I have. Researchers, not resources. And as you can see, this is already expanding over here, extremely close to the enemy base. So they're gonna attack me any second. And I have absolutely nothing to defend myself with. So I'm gonna add a few of these. Oh. I still left one out. It's fine, just gonna add it. And what I can do with the assembly machines is that they're gonna craft basic recipes for me. So that way I can focus on more slightly advanced technologies and tools, gears, whatnot. Go. So they're going to be very agitated soon. Maybe the next technology I should research is military, which cost me also 10. So I'm going to add another 10 by hand. They're not attacking yet, but they're probably going to form an attack group soon. The first one is done, so that means I can make assembly machines right now. Oh, and because I really want to keep all of you informed on what's going to happen, I forgot the other rules. As I stated in the beginning, one of the rules is if I die in game, it's game over. So I have to start anew. And another rule would be... Oh, right. No editing, no cutting or cleaning up any of the published material, because first of all, I'm pretty new, so I need to just try to get some material out. It's really embarrassing when I stutter or mumble, but that's a little bit different than the everything has to be perfect, no bloopers, no mistakes kind of videos you see on the internet these days. So since this is all new and we're trying to establish the basic rules for both you and I, there's going to be some interweaving between in-game and outside of game, but as we progress more together and hopefully have more people enjoying this type of raw content, I'm going to focus more on in-game and focus more on lore style storytelling. So right now with the basic game, it's got a little bit of introduction, a little bit of how things go and how it works. And if we would do a new game plus or new game with some additional rules, then it's going to be more focused on the me in-game character as lore component. So this is basically just the tutorial we're working with. And I got some new technology here as well. So let's build a few of those. As you can see, they already take a fair amount of resource and different components, which are now currently handcrafted by me personally. And I know that was a tautology because it said by me personally, and that's 2 times the same thing. And we need to expand this soon too. So what I have here is this new assembly machine that I just researched. And I got the third research, so I'm just going to build one for safety reasons. As you can see here, I can press one of the keys of my keyboard and open my own inventory, which shows what I can make by hand. But I can also click on the assembly machine and see what it can build. And most of the things I can build, it can also build as well, as long as I feed the resources into it. So let's see, basic components like gear. And let's give it a little bit more space. There we go. And let's see, yeah, mechanical arm, which needs iron, gear, and electric. Okay, that's already a little bit more complex than intended, but that's fine. Then I'm gonna check here, a little bit more space. What does this need? Electric circuit. Oh, it also needs additional components. Normally it's a lot more simple than this, but I'm just jumping into the deep because we're gonna need all of this soon enough. So we searched this basic turret, and I also just made one of these. As you can see here, it has a green circle around itself, which is the range it can shoot at. And since the base is up north, I'm gonna also defend up north. I hope this is safe enough, because the insects will try to attack in a straight path as much as possible. And since the pollution is coming from this direction, in a straight path over here, should cross the turret in order to get into the danger area for me to defend myself. So the enemy is gonna walk into the warpath, and that should allow me to be able to defend myself. I am a little bit nervous because it will be very embarrassing to already lose so soon, but it can happen. It can happen to the best of us. Because one of the tricky things about this game is whenever you think you're doing good enough, you probably need to do a little bit better. And there's nothing wrong with the idea that you need to improve gaming. It's more about the idea of the game says, hey, there's always a next level. There's always a little bit more of a challenge. There's a little bit more of the doom. So as you can see, my research has already stopped, which is one of those things. There's already a new research I can do. There's already more that I can build, etc., etc. And one more of these, I guess. And a few hundred more of these. There we go. This should do the main trick. There. And as you can see, I'm just standing here, not doing anything, and the factory is already building for me. I do need some output. Otherwise, this is just gonna clog up. As you can see, this is turning yellow already, which means this is full. So it cannot produce anything anymore until this is getting emptied. And as long as I'm feeding these two chests with resources, then I'm gonna get robot arms, so I don't have to spend time anymore to build them by hand, which is gonna be a lifesaver. And this is very still basic. Maybe a little bit more on the advanced side of the basic side, but this is just the start of how things can be, because by the time I'm done and trying to build the rocket, this whole map is just going to be a small fraction of my entire factory. So time to get some more basic resources. Craft a few more things by hand before I can start really automating everything. And why aren't you not working? Oh, so this is also a very interesting thing about the game, and that's why the amount of resources available is important, which is one of the settings you can change as you start a new game. Resources do run out. So as I move with my mouse over here, you can see on the right side the amount of resources of iron in this iron patch. And once all of them are mined, they're just completely out. So you have to make sure that you always try to get new resource patches or explore a little bit. Otherwise, your base will stop running because it doesn't have any more resources to process. And since I already built some of those assembly machines, I can build some of these too. Actually, I don't need to build them by hand anymore because the factory makes them for me. So I'm gonna automate this as well, or semi-automate this. What I did is just adding these two components. So instead of hand feeding this all the time, I just dump a whole truckload of these coal resources over here, and then it will feed itself for the time being. It can be automated if I could feed it all the way up here, but that's gonna take a little bit, which is gonna be the next one actually gonna need. So this is gonna make gears, and gears are used for several buildings, components as well. So let's start with the next one over here, and a little bit of these. And the next component I'm going to make is a belt, which allows me to move items from point A to point B. And I forgot to... Oh. I've got to make another chest to collect them, otherwise there are going to be a few on the ground and that's it. So I have belts and mechanical arms, which is going to be my base component for building up my factory. Because there's going to be a lot of moving resources around back and forth, and it's a lot easier if it's automated compared to hand carry demo. Which also concludes my introduction to this game, introduction to myself. And as part of the fact that everything's going to be made raw and uncut, including the bloopers, I'm just going to reset the recording. Hopefully I won't get wiped out at the start of the next recording. Make sure that you take your rest. Make sure that you have enough to eat or drink. If it's cold from wherever you are, make sure you're warmed up. If it's too hot, make sure you can cool down with a fan or a wind blower or maybe hand fan. And I'll catch you next time, which is a funny thing. I'm gonna catch you next time, which for me will be like a second because I'm just gonna restart the recording as basically episode 2. So, what's called again? Chapter 1, episode 2. But I'm not gonna upload the next episode until at least a day later, so you have constantly a stream in of new content. So, as I said, I'm just gonna restart recording and I'll catch you later.